What if everything you believe about your pain is nothing but an illusion? Maybe you've been convinced that suffering is a sign of weakness, that silence is the only way, or that hope no longer exists for you. But the reality is that behind what looks like the end may be hidden the beginning of a profound change. There is an extraordinary answer, capable of turning the key of your life once and for all. Throughout this content, you will realize that you are not abandoned, that there is someone who sees every tear and who has already written a plan of hope for your heart. But before moving on, make a simple decision. Subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications, because what you are about to discover may be exactly the missing piece that will transform your story. Have you ever noticed how sometimes it feels like no one understands the weight you carry? It's as if your heart is screaming, but the world around you moves on in silence, too busy to notice. Yet there is someone who not only hears that muffled cry, but carefully records it. Like a father who keeps his child's crumpled drawings in a drawer because every scribble has value. That's how God treats every tear that falls from your face. Pain, when unseen, can become even more cruel. It's like being in a dark room, waving for help, but no one switches on the light. Yet God, with attentive eyes, notices even what you try to hide. He sees not only what you show, but also what you keep in the silence of your soul. And this gaze is not one of judgment, but of deep compassion. Many people try to solve their pain by hiding it, believing that if they ignore it, it will disappear. But have you realized that it's like sweeping dirt under the rug? Sooner or later it shows up again. The comfort is knowing that God doesn't ignore it, He gathers it. Like someone picking up shards of glass so that no one else gets hurt, He handles pain with care. And in this lies an invitation to trust this process to Him. There are moments when the weight is so heavy that even praying feels impossible. The mind is filled with questions, and the heart locks itself in silence. Yet even then, God understands. He translates even the sighs you cannot turn into words. And isn't it remarkable to think that even when you feel like you're failing to express yourself, He understands better than anyone? A practical exercise can help. Write down in a notebook the pains you feel, as if you were writing a letter to God. It doesn't need to be pretty or full of the right phrases. Just honest. Many discover in this practice an unexpected relief, like talking to someone who truly listens. And the most surprising part is realizing how this habit opens space to see that you are not as alone as you thought. It's curious how, in the midst of pain, we often ask, is there a way out? The human heart longs for quick answers, but God often responds with presence before solution. Like a friend who doesn't need to say a word to make us feel better, He simply is. And that presence already begins to change the inner atmosphere, even if the outer circumstances remain the same. When someone discovers that their tears do not fall in vain, a new perspective is born. It's like looking at a broken mirror and still seeing a reflection there. Pain, no matter how great, is not ignored. It is seen and recorded. And if there is someone who sees with such care, could it not also be possible that He is preparing something greater, something that connects to the next step of this journey? One of the cruelest tricks of depression is making you feel completely alone. It whispers that no one cares, no one notices, and no one would even miss you if you disappeared. But that's a lie. Jesus Himself promised, "I am with you always, to the very end of the age." That means right now, in this very moment. He's sitting with you, even in your silence. Think about it. People may come and go, friends may drift away, and even family might not always understand what you're going through. But Jesus never leaves. Imagine a shadow that never disappears, no matter where you walk or how dark it gets. That's His presence in your life, constant, steady, unshakable. You may not always feel Him, but He's there. Loneliness can feel suffocating, like you're stuck in an empty room with only your thoughts echoing back at you. But you don't have to stay trapped in that silence. When you choose to talk to God, even with just a whisper, something shifts. You realize there's someone on the other side of that conversation. Someone who listens without interrupting, without judging, without leaving. Here's something practical. Try going for a walk and speaking out loud to God, just as if you were talking to a close friend. Tell him what's weighing on you, even the things you think are too small or too messy. You'll notice that just voicing those thoughts lifts a bit of the heaviness. And sometimes as you speak, peace starts to sneak in, quietly but undeniably. It's easy to believe that being surrounded by people means you're not alone. But you and I know that's not true. You can be in a crowd and still feel invisible. The difference with Jesus is that he doesn't just stand nearby, he engages with you. He knows when your smile is fake, when your laughter hides exhaustion, and when your silence is actually a cry for help. And here's the thing, his presence isn't limited by distance, walls, or time zones. You don't need a church building, a special prayer, or the right words to reach him. Right where you are, whether in your room, at work, or even sitting in your car, he is there. Sometimes just whispering, "Jesus, I need you," is enough to remind your soul that you're not abandoned. When you realize you're not truly alone, something begins to change. It's like being lost in a forest and suddenly seeing a light in the distance. Even if you're still walking through the shadows, the presence of that light gives you courage to keep going. And if he's with you in this moment, don't you think he's also ready to carry your weariness and give you something you've been longing for? Maybe you feel exhausted carrying a weight that seems endless. Responsibilities, demands, expectations, everything piles up, and at some point your body begs for a pause while your soul cries out for rest. That's exactly when Jesus steps in and says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." He doesn't demand perfection. He offers relief. The rest he promises isn't just about closing your eyes and getting a few hours of sleep. It's a rest that sinks deep into your heart, quieting the thoughts that never stop and calming the anxiety that refuses to go away. It's like when a violent storm finally clears and suddenly the sky opens up, bringing clarity and peace. That's the kind of rest you find in him. So often you try to find that rest in other places, entertainment, social media, or temporary distractions. They might help for a moment, but soon the emptiness comes back. The rest that Jesus gives is different because it doesn't depend on what's happening around you. It starts inside of you, a peace that stays, even when life outside is still chaotic. Here's something simple you can try. Set aside a few minutes each day just to sit in silence before God. It could be before bed or right when you wake up. Close your eyes, take a deep breath and say, "Jesus, I give this weight to you." That small act, repeated with sincerity, brings real relief and renews your strength. You don't need to have everything figured out to rest in Christ. His invitation isn't, "Fix your problems and then come to me." It's the opposite. Bring me your problems. Bring me your weakness, and here you'll find rest. It's like coming home after a long, hard day and finally being able to drop the heavy backpack you've been carrying. Maybe you feel like you don't deserve that care, that your weakness is just too much. But it's actually weakness that draws God's heart closer. He doesn't walk away when you're out of strength. Quite the opposite. It's in those very moments that he leans in. Jesus doesn't reject the weary, he embraces them. And in that embrace, the weight begins to lift. When you learn to rest in him, life takes on a new rhythm. You realize you don't have to run all the time or fight the daily battles on your own. His rest gives you clarity to decide, courage to keep going, and calm to face even the hardest days. He doesn't remove the challenges, but he gives you peace right in the middle of them. And if there is rest for your tired soul, imagine what it means when you discover that this rest is also the proof of a greater love. A love that was visibly demonstrated in a very specific place. When you start to believe that you have no value, it's time to look at the cross. That's where the greatest proof of unconditional love is found. Jesus didn't die because of something you did, but because of who you are. He chose to give his life to show that you are far too precious to ever be forgotten. No human gesture can compare to this demonstration of love. The cross wasn't an accident, nor just a historical detail. It was the very center of God's plan to show how much you matter to Him. It's as if He wrote an eternal declaration across the sky saying, "I love you so much that I gave my Son for you." And this love has no expiration date. It is alive every single day. Maybe you felt discarded, like someone who doesn't make a difference. But the cross shatters that lie. There, Jesus chose to carry the pain, the weight, and even the mistakes you carry. It's as if He said, "Give it to me, I'll take it for you." That means there's no sin, no failure, strong enough to reduce the love He has for you. Think about a valuable gift. When someone gives something precious, it's because they see worth in the person receiving it. On the cross, God gave what was most precious to Him, His Son. That reveals how much worth He sees in you, even if the world doesn't recognize it. The price paid for your life already proves how special you are. This love changes the way you see yourself. You no longer need to spend your life trying to prove your value to others, because the cross has already proven it. It's not about earning, it's about receiving. Jesus didn't wait for you to be perfect to die for you. He did it because He knew you needed this act of grace and mercy. Here's a practice to help you remember this truth. Whenever you feel worthless, picture the cross and say out loud, "I am loved. Jesus died for me." That simple declaration rewires your mind and strengthens your heart. Over time, this truth becomes more real than any lie trying to convince you otherwise. The cross is where shame is replaced with forgiveness, and where despair gives way to hope. It's like a marker in history, reminding you that no matter what happens, you've already been chosen and loved. This love not only redeems your past, but also opens the door to something completely new. And if at the cross you find the worth you've been searching for, imagine what it means to discover that in Christ there is not only love, but also the chance to begin again. Despair often whispers that there's no way out, that the end has come, and nothing can change anymore. But in Jesus, there is always the possibility of starting over. He Himself declared in the second letter of Paul to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 17, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come." This is not just a distant promise. It is a reality available to you today. A new beginning in Christ doesn't mean that the past never existed, but that it no longer defines who you are. What was once a burden becomes a lesson, and what seemed like failure is transformed into testimony. It's like a tree that, even after a harsh winter, blooms again in the spring. The old cycle ends, and a new cycle begins. Maybe you think you've made too many mistakes to deserve another chance. But the truth is, God always writes new stories on pages that once seemed stained. The Lord Himself said through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This means He has already prepared tomorrow, even when all you see is yesterday. The new beginning in Christ also brings a new identity. You are no longer defined by pain, guilt, or the scars of your past. As the Apostle Paul wrote to the Galatians, chapter 2, verse 20, "I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave Himself for me." In other words, when you choose to live with Him, you carry within yourself a renewed life filled with purpose. This fresh start can begin with small but meaningful steps. It could be choosing to forgive someone even when it hurts. It could be deciding to change a habit that has been slowly destroying you. It could be daring to dream again about something you once abandoned. Small actions, done with faith, become powerful signs of transformation in your heart. Don't think that starting over means you won't face struggles. The new path will have challenges, but now you don't walk it alone. Christ walks with you, strengthening your steps and holding your hand. He is like the morning light after a dark night. The certainty that the sun will rise brings hope to keep moving forward. The most beautiful part of this new beginning is realizing that God doesn't wait for you to be ready to start again. He calls you exactly as you are, with your flaws, your pain, and your doubts. It's in that state that He builds something new, something far greater than what you could ever imagine on your own. And if in Christ there is a new beginning, imagine what happens when you understand that this invitation isn't just for tomorrow, but for today, right now, while He is knocking at the door of your heart. Jesus doesn't wait for you to have everything figured out before coming close to Him. On the contrary, He draws near to you exactly as you are right now, with your flaws, your pain, your doubts, and even that emptiness that feels endless. He Himself said in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 20, "Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me." This invitation is for you, today, not tomorrow. Maybe you've thought, "I'm not worthy," or "this isn't the right moment." But the truth is, there will never be a perfect moment by your own strength. The right time is the very moment you hear His voice and decide to open the door of your heart. It's simple yet powerful. Just say, "Yes, Jesus, I receive you." That small step creates a massive transformation inside of you. Accepting this invitation doesn't mean life will suddenly be free of problems, but it does mean you'll never face them alone. It's like walking through a dark valley, knowing you're not by yourself, because beside you is the one who knows the way and where He's leading you. That certainty changes how you face pain and gives you courage to keep moving forward. Here's something you can do today. Take a quiet moment to pray, even with just a few words. You could say, "Jesus, I open the door of my heart. Come in, stay with me, transform my life." It doesn't have to be fancy, because God doesn't look at form. He looks at sincerity. And in that simple act, the miracle begins. The invitation of Jesus is an invitation of love, and true love never forces anyone. He knocks, but He doesn't break down the door. He calls, but waits for your response. That shows how much He values your freedom and respects your timing. But remember, the opportunity is right in front of you now, and every second could be the start of a brand new life. Receiving this invitation means experiencing a peace that doesn't come from circumstances, but from presence. It's waking up knowing that even if the day brings challenges, there's a rest and a strength that don't come from you, but from Him. This peace is what sustains you, renews you, and gives you the courage to keep going. If you've been carrying burdens that felt unbearable until now, know that you don't have to walk alone anymore. The invitation of Jesus is to share that weight and show you there's a better way. And that way begins with a simple response, opening the door of your heart and letting Him in. And when you say yes to Jesus, you discover something greater than you ever imagined. No matter the pain, the emptiness, or the hopelessness you faced, in Him, there's always hope for you. Now think about this. How much longer will you allow pain to determine the course of your life? There is a new beginning prepared especially for you, and Jesus is knocking at the door of your heart, ready to bring peace and renew your hope. This could be the step that changes everything, but it depends on your decision to open yourself to Him. So don't wait any longer. Subscribe to the channel now. Turn on the notification bell to follow every new message, and share this video with 2 people you know. Those 2 lives can also be touched by the same message that has reached you today, and you will be part of this chain of transformation.